The member from Barrie.
Here we go.
Thank you, Speaker.
New $1 billion
Speaker, my
scandal.
question is to the minister responsible for the Pan Am Games. I'll maybe give him a moment to get to his seat. Speaker, Minister, since 2011 we've been asking what the Pan Am Games will cost the province. For 2 years now, we've insisted the budget of $1.4 billion wasn't the real budget. You've insisted it was. Other Pan Am projects like the Athletes Village, $709 million, the Pan Am Trails, $3.5 million, ARL at $456 million, the transportation between up to $90 million, the Pan Am Secretariat at another $10 million were not included in your $1.4 billion pretend budget. After 2 years of demanding the truth, holding your feet to the fire, you're back against the wall. Today we received an estimate that is almost more than double the cost of the $1.4 billion at over $2.5 billion.
$3 billion.
Minister, and you still refuse to release the exact number for the games. Why do you think it's acceptable to play games with the Ontario taxpayers' money?
Not acceptable.
Seated, please. Minister responsible for the Pan Am Games.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this morning we had a technical briefing and the opposition was invited, but he chose not to get there. So he will keep his unfounded allegation and he keep himself.
The tradition of this place is not to mention anyone's attendance in this place, and I would ask the member not to do it again. Finish, please. I will wait for calm. Finish, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we have been upfront, open and transparent on the Pan and Para-Pan American game. For example, Speaker, one of the largest items in our additional investment is the Athletes Village at $700 million. That makes up 70% of the $1 billion. The Athletes Village has always been the responsibility of the whole jurisdiction and outside the $1.4 billion operating budget. From the very beginning, Speaker, in the bid book to reports in both in the Toronto Star and Toronto Sun in 2009. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Minister, I would have been proud and pleased to come to your technical briefing had I been invited. Minister, this has been kind of tiring and really, frankly, kind of sad. From the start, you've done everything you can to stymie us on finding out the true cost of the Pan Am Games. At every stop, the list is long, Minister, from hidden budgets to FOI requests costing more than $3,000 to refusing to answer questions in question period, we just witnessed that, to blocking investigation of the games in committee, sacrificing worthy bills like Bill 105. You're determined to hide the true cost of the Pan Am Games to the public. You've even resorted to having us sift through 45 boxes of 50,000 documents since you won't just open up to the people of Ontario. Today, because we have your back against the wall and because you know we have the information buried in those documents, we found out that your budget is over $2.56 billion. Wow. Way more than the $1.4 billion you've been touting for the past 3 years. Minister, are these the actions to be indicative of what an Ontario can expect from the supposedly new and open and transparent responsible government? It's very sad.
Seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
Speaker, thank you, Speaker. Through you to the member opposite. He was invited. He failed to show up.
Stop the clock, please. While that is not exactly talking about somebody's attendance, it's tiptoeing around that fact, so I'd ask the member to be very cautious of making any references whatsoever. Thank you very much.
It's not in the legislature.
Speaker, I was invited 2 times to debate on the light show. They, the opposite, failed to show up. I show up. Speaker, allow me to continue the Athletes Village. It is a cornerstone. Keep going, please. It is a cornerstone of the broader revitalization of the West Don lands into a vibrant, new, mixed-use community. Speaker, that will boast over 250 units for low-income rental, over 100 units for affordable housing sales, the first ever George Brown residence that will house 500 students, a brand new YMCA. The revitalization has been planned since 1980. It's almost 30 years. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, we don't trust you. I don't think the people of Ontario trust you either. Your government's been talking a lot about transparency and accountability. The Premier even went so far as to stand up and promise Ontario that this government is committed to this, or at least simply having a conversation about it. Yet to date, openness and transparency have been non-existent when it comes to the Pan Am Games, and the commitment you've shown to doing the exact opposite is astounding, Minister. We've asked simple questions, and in return we've received convoluted answers from a confused minister. Today, the estimates confirm that the Games will likely cost more than double the $1.4 billion budget that you've been talking to us about.
Unbelievable.
Minister, you've lost control of the Games,
$3
and
billion.
the trust of the province. Maybe you should just simply show up for work and resign today. Let someone else do it who can handle the job.
You seated, please. You seated, please. Minister.
Speaker, I don't trust his words. Speaker, the member and the party opposite have never had anything say positive about the Pan Am Games. In fact, they continue to shine a negative light on our local Pan-American communities, our competing athletes and para-athletes, over 20,000 volunteers, over 26 new capital and infrastructure projects, and the 250,000 tourists that will be visiting. The party also continue to cut ties and embarrass our promise with 41 nations, boycotting our reception last month and spreading unfounded allegations and numbers to the public. We are planning for the best ever Games, Speaker, the most open and transparent game ever. Thank you, Speaker.